Welcome back to CBS This Morning. President Obama meets today with congressional leaders to talk about the upcoming fiscal cliff.
If they don't agree on a budget deal by the end of the year, there will be automatic spending cuts and tax increases. Republican strategist and CBS News political analyst Frank Luntz met this week with 24 voters, 12 Democrats and 12 Republicans, and he asked them what they would do to resolve the crisis.
You've heard the phrase fiscal cliff. Aren't you nervous about what's going to happen to the country in the next few weeks?
I'm very nervous. It's scary.
I got good news for you. They're going to let it go to the 11th hour, and they'll put a Band-Aid on it.
Of course.
They always pass the buck, and, you know, I bring it.
And they'll be like this. You did it, she did it.
I want a show of hands. How many of you think in the end that the Republicans and the Democrats, the White House and Congress will come together, get an agreement, and there won't be a fiscal cliff? Raise your hands if you think they succeed. Okay, so you're pretty optimistic, but you're not.
No.
Why not?
I'd like to be, but they've got to put the nation first. They've got to stop demonizing each other and sit down together, regardless of party, regardless of what the media says, and try to work out some real solutions that are going to help us.
So your definition of putting the country first means taxing anybody that makes over $250,000.
No, and don't put words in my mouth. I don't know what the ultimate solution is, but I know that in this city, it's almost verboten for a Democrat and Republican to be seen together anywhere in town. It's like you committed treason. Sit down and talk without, I mean, they don't have to agree on all the issues, but that's how traditionally we got things done.
That's where the demarcation line has come, though. It's, do we raise taxes on the so-called wealthy, or do we not?
Show of hands. How many allowed the Bush tax cuts as part of a comprehensive agreement would allow them to expire? Okay, barely half of you. How many would allow those on millionaires, those who make $1 million or more, to expire? Raise your hands. Okay, so that's the key. $250,000 is not quite high enough. $1 million is high enough for most of you. Anyone else want to say anything about the fiscal cliff?
We need to do with Congress what they did in colonial America with juries. You put them in a room with no food, no water, no heat, and no bathroom breaks, and they cannot leave until they have a decision.
Do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Frank Luntz joins us now. Frank, first of all, I'm impressed by the intelligence and the common sense of these people.
Yes.
They seem to reflect this idea that why can't Washington do something?
Well, it's interesting because they voted for change, no matter what side they were on. They voted for change, and they didn't get it, and they're kind of nervous that the status quo will continue. They do believe that the fiscal cliff is a challenge, but Americans are paying more attention to what's happening in Washington because they see it affected in their paychecks, they see it affected in their housing prices. So, Charlie, they get it. If Washington doesn't solve this, they know they're going to get hurt.
You asked them about the tax cuts. They seem to be very clear about that. What else are they willing to compromise on?
Well, on that, what they want more than anything else is cuts in spending. And they're prepared to do virtually anything if you give them those spending cuts. And I'll be specific here. They won't take a cut in Medicare. They won't take a cut in Social Security. But if you change those entitlement programs and raise the retirement age, that they will accept. And so there is some give there. Second is going beyond economics. They believe that you have to have a solution. Issue, that you can't have the borders so porous, that you can't have people here who are living illegally, that there has to be a way that you can get workers into this country who want to come in the right way, and that you at least legalize those who come in here through no fault of their own. So even if Washington isn't prepared to compromise, the American people are.
So, Frank, what's the disconnect between the voters and the members of Congress?
It's very simple. It's the primary process. Republicans are afraid that if they compromise, they'll be primaried. Some of them were. Dick Lugar lost his election. Senator Bennett from Utah lost his election. There is that fear that those on the right will come after you. And on the Democratic side, it's the same thing, where moderate Democrats are afraid that someone more progressive will come and run against them if they are seen as talking. And so what Washington needs to do basically is both sides need to step out together. If they do it at the same time, if they do it hand in hand, Voters will not punish them. In fact, they will reward them for getting the job done.
Thank you, Frank. I got a kick out of the woman who said, put them in a room, no food, no water, no bathroom breaks. They will get it done. That's an interesting way to go.
And by the way, I hope they do it, and I just want to be there to watch.
Yes, don't we all? Thank you, Frank.